Hey, hey, Nigerian XJW Speaks here, otherwise known as Chigo. I hope you are doing well. This is take two for me today. I started to film a video earlier and then I realized, hang on, I've heard all this before. So it turned out I was trying to react to something I thought I had already reacted to. And so I had to stop that. And this is take two. Now, fortunately, that was being um, live streamed in private, which is how I've been doing this. So, just for the record, I know some of you have been asking me, you don't get the notification. That's because I sort of live stream it in private and then make it public afterwards, if it's not too messy. So that's what we're doing. The goal is to have this one be relatively short because like 5 minutes to midnight, and I've got to go to bed. Got to work tomorrow. So let's see what we've got on today. We've got a video by Samuel Hurd. It looks to be within this year. If I can work out the date symbol, and the title of it is Your Best Good Enough? Now, as a former witness, that question is triggering. It is triggering because this is a group that you never quite give enough. It's never enough. At every assembly, convention, you're being asked, could you do more? Could you do more? I remember watching one of the JW broadcasting programs. This must have been last year or something like that, where this couple were being shown to feel uncomfortable about the fact that they had well-paying jobs, they were comfortable, the house was decorated with the modern things that they liked, and essentially the message of that was sell that stuff. You need to strip it down. Like, you could always be doing more, more, more. And being told that by a group of men that don't spare any expense for themselves, with their fancy rings that they have, with their lives that they live, it's a little bit hypocritical. And the thing is, a lot of the time, most of their members, just by virtue of the numbers and where they're growing right now, are in places where people don't always have too much. People are not crazy wealthy, but they're being pushed and pushed and pushed. And this question, is your best good enough? That's already a mind screw. So I imagine, if I would guess, while they will be saying yes, it'll be interesting to see how they spin this, if things have changed. If you're familiar with how people are being guilt tripped and stuff like that, I would love to hear your input, how you're seeing this. I haven't watched this, so let's see it together.
In addressing our theme, is your best good enough? I'd like to start by reading Galatians 6:4.
I wish I could skip these things. Well, I could.
It says, "But let each one examine his own actions, and then he will have cause for rejoicing in regard to himself alone, and not in comparison with the other person." We're told to examine our own actions. So ask yourself, how am I doing spiritually? Am I happy with my attendance at Christian meeting?
There's the
Do I
guilt tripping.
participate by sharing meaningful comments?
Oh,
as
it's gotta
able?
be meaningful. Those
How
adjectives.
about my personal study of the Bible?
Dear
Let me
me.
examine my involvement in the ministry. Could I do better in preparing for my return visits? Do I conduct any Bible studies with interested ones? If so, am I content with what I am doing? In effect, you're asking yourself, is my best good enough? We might see others in the congregation that are doing more than we are. But then we look back at Galatians 6:4 again, and it clearly said that I should not compare myself with the other person.
Which they do
So
all the
we
time.
could quickly assume that we're doing what we can, reasoning that it's good enough.
Oh, it's about to
But let's not forget
crap on
the
it.
first part of the verse. We are to
Excuse me.
examine our own actions. We need to compare what we are doing with what we personally could be doing.
There we go.
We need to be active and not become self-satisfied and overconfident.
Oh, wow. It's
1
very
Corinthians
judgy.
10:12 provides this warning. So let the one who thinks he is standing beware that he does not fall.
My dad used to quote that verse a lot. I don't know, is it him or from the Kingdom Hall, but it was a verse that was always around. You know, I'm feeling discomfort, and that is, people who say that your body has memory, your body remembers things, your body remembers how things make them feel. And this really takes me back to the feeling of not being trusted, the feeling of not being given the benefit of the doubt. There's a certain amount of underlying suspicion that runs through this group. Parents suspecting their children and vice versa. Elders in the congregation suspecting publishers and vice versa. It's just well, at least this was how it was for me. There was like an overall feeling of suspicion all around. And if you feel a need to constantly say, let he that thinks he's standing beware that he does not fall, it's very, to me, that is accusatory. And that's the feeling, that is what's coming back for me. That's the discomfort that comes with hearing the scripture. Samuel Hedge has just said, don't just look at someone else and say, oh, do you know what, I'm fine. He said, don't just be self-satisfied. Don't just say you're content. Don't just say you're fine. Well, I thought the whole point was to take that decision internally. What is it to you, Samuel Heard? I thought the point was for each person to consider their own actions, right? And be happy with whatever they're doing. And now he's saying, no, don't be just self-satisfied. So which one is it? Is it up to each person to be content with what they're doing without external factors? How do you tie that in with the quotas that you used to have, where there is sort of a minimum that a person has to give to be seen as being spiritually healthy? How do we marry that in with each person be examining their own actions? If that's the case, then maybe you should butt out. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see where he goes with this. But straight away, there's already this double speak where initially it sounds like, oh no, it's not about comparison. You're examining your own actions, and quickly flips that to say, don't be self-satisfied. Which is it?
But you may say, I'm doing my best. What more can I do? Take a good look at your best.
Stop it.
Examine very closely all you're doing with the time that you have. Can mundane activity be replaced with theocratic activity?
Who gets to decide what is mundane? What gives you the right to decide for someone else what is mundane? Are you paying your bills? Are you feeding your family? Are you putting a roof over their head? Like, what gives you the right to decide for people that you're never going to meet what is mundane? This is the level of control that this religion tries to have. How can you, Samuel Heard, and your 7 colleagues sit over there in New York telling millions of people around the world what should be priority for them? What gives you the right to make that call? It's that thing. I'm really not reacting well to this.
What do you see? Is your best good enough? It may be, it may not. It depends on one's outlook. What are some examples?
I'm going to see some extreme things now.
He practiced, trained, eats the right things, keeps a lean, healthy body, wears the best running shoes, and so forth. He gives his best, but loses the race to someone faster. His best was not good enough. Why?
Wow.
It was compared to whether he was faster than his competitors. Johann Blake lost to Usain Bolt in a 100-meter event in 2012 by just a fraction of a second. He did his best, but his best wasn't good enough.
Oh, where are you going with this?
A mother and daughter. The daughter is in the second grade of school. She brings home a picture she drew in class. The teacher had put a B- on the picture. The daughter shows it to her mother, and the mother crosses out the B- and puts an A+ on it.
Where are you going
with this? She then tapes the picture on the refrigerator. What is the difference between the teacher and the mother? The teacher compares the student to other classmates of her age. The mother grades her according to her best, not in comparison with others. Jehovah does not compare your best with the best of others.
Right.
Let's look at Psalm 103:14. When Jehovah examines our spiritual accomplishments, what's one of his measuring sticks?
Then you shouldn't have quotas then, should you? You shouldn't have minimums.
103:14.
I know you're coming off that now, but you should never have
how
them.
we are formed, remembering that we're dust. Dust is used figuratively, indicating mankind's frailty and lowliness. Remembering that we are dust, Jehovah never asks more of us than we can give. However, he expects us to obey his commands to the best of our own ability.
Well, he's never actually said anything.
Mark 12:30.
Just you guys.
You can likely quote it from memory. Verse 30 says, "You must love Jehovah your God with your whole heart and with your whole soul and with your whole mind and with your whole strength."
Yeah, so it's this thing again, hiding behind the Jehovah said, which no one's ever seen, no one's ever heard from. What we have is a book that they allegedly are being spirit directed, not inspired, semantics, spirit directed to interpret what that means. I mean, it's the same book that the whole billions of people that identify as Christian worldwide, they're using the same book, but they're coming up with different interpretations, different understandings. This is the understanding of these 8 men in New York. The Jehovah character, nowhere to be seen in any of this, instead of making his words or his intentions or whatever he wants people to do plain. So we just have to take Samuel Hurd's word for it, his interpretation of what things are meant to mean and how things are meant to be applied. And that's all we're left with. And so when these claims are made, we just got to remember we're hearing from Samuel Hurd and his colleagues. That's their interpretation. When they say Jehovah and themselves, there's really no difference in their understanding, which is why they can demand unquestioning obedience. It'll probably come up at some point here, because he's already said about obeying. Seeing as Jehovah doesn't actually say anything, that means obeying this guy and his colleagues. So he can try and hide behind that all he wants. When you've been in the group, you know that Jehovah is another name for him and his friends, and that's who the obedience is for. So let's see it clearly for what it is. Not going to sleep.
This embraces everything we have, all that we are. You go in service. You use your whole strength to accomplish it. That's commendable. But what good is it to use our whole strength going into the service if our mind cannot direct our tongue to say the right things when we talk to a person?
Huh?
I used a lot of my strength walking from door to door, climbing stairs, and so forth. And yet no one let me get past my introduction. Question: was that the best introduction you could give? How
Wow.
long have you been using that introduction?
Wow.
Would a new one help? Would using your whole mind by means of advanced preparation result in making
So more
your
time
best
spent
even
pushing
better?
your religion then?
Have you tried to use some of the introductions demonstrated at our midweek meetings, or some of those found in...
Well, how about Jehovah show up himself and do it, seeing as allegedly people's lives depend on this? You know, that is more time people are going to spend reading their literature. So it's not enough then to just go with the book that supposedly came from Jehovah. They have to use your literature. They have to come to your meetings to watch your presentations and example demonstrations, because at the end of the day, this really is about you. So if this is Jehovah's book, this is his message that he wants people to hear, apparently his word alone is not enough. We need Samuel Hurd and his colleagues to print literature, to put on demos for how this is going to be. More time and more time and more time that people are going to spend, more mental energy. People have full-time jobs, people have families that they have to spend time with. They have to carve out time as well to go to all these meetings and read all this literature to prepare before they then also spend time going out. This whole thing is exhausting. And if you're not doing that, all that extra bit, then you're not really doing your best, are you? Because he's saying you could be using your strength, as in the physically going out, but have you put your mind to it? Have you spent time listening to all of that? So are you catching that? Are you catching that? Jehovah's word is clearly not enough. We need Samuel Hurd's group support as well to do that. So
and
let's
the
keep
reasoning
listening.
from the scriptures book, pages 9 through 15. What does the householder see in your face when she opens the door? Is your countenance radiating pleasantness and kindness? Does she see good news or bad news? Do you look happy or sad?
Boy.
The message we're commissioned to...
So for anybody who may not have been a witness, this is it, guys. This is it. Yeah, this is what happens. This is how you have the people that come to your door and look a certain way. This is all coached. Yeah, people, they're not really like this. Trust me. When you go to their homes, things are really messed up there sometimes. Honestly, people are being coached to go out there and present a facade as if this is what it is. Now, don't get me wrong. You can say no, but you know, in a job, if you're in sales or in something, you wouldn't bring your personal problems to that. But you see, that's the thing though. If you're in sales or any other setting like that, you get paid for it. You get rewarded for your time. Here, you get absolutely nothing. Zero. In fact, you're being scolded for not doing it with the right everything perfect. You get nothing for it. All you're doing is advancing the religion of Samuel Hurd and his men. But I just wanted to point that out. You know, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, they always seem nice when they come to my door. They always look really happy." Yeah, it's a facade. It's coached. It's coercion. You know, you are being told that that is how you're going to show up. Otherwise, you're not doing it right. So here's a PSA for you.
Delivered today is the good news of the kingdom. We expect it to change sometime in the near future. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, you can do better. You attend all congregation meetings and pay rapt attention with your mind. You're to be commended. But is that all that's required to love Jehovah with our whole mind? Are we meditating on the knowledge that we receive at our meetings in order to draw close to Jehovah?
Let me interpret that quickly. So we've got the strength, as in the physical exertion. We've got the mind, which is the mental work they're going to do beforehand. Now we're getting to probably the heart, whichever one he was saying. Now you got to do some meditation as well. Do you see how much time is going into this? It's exhausting. Life as a witness, you are worn out to do everything that they want you to do. And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing enough. And you get a talking to. It's exhausting. That's all I'm saying.
James 4:8 says, draw close to God, and he will draw close to you.
But you really mean your religion,
That's
though.
one benefit we receive from our meeting attendance. Let's read Hebrews 10:24 and 25. This is another benefit of regular meeting attendance. In this way, we give and receive encouragement. Verses 24 and 25 read,
Another popular scripture.
and let us consider one another so as to incite to love and fine works, not forsaking our meeting together as some have the custom, but encouraging one another, and all the more so as you see the day drawing near. Do you give comments at meetings?
Oh, well, something else you got to do.
Are they well prepared?
Okay.
Do they encourage your brothers and sisters? Are you giving your best? If so, then your best is good enough. What about your personal study?
There we go. So that's the other one you got to do. That's the other one you got to do. Oh, my gosh. It's an overwhelming feeling of exhaustion. This really takes me back. This really takes me back to all this stuff that you have to do just to keep up. Just to flipping keep up. You got the going out in the ministry. There's the getting your mind ready for it by, listening and watching the demonstrations. There's the meditating on this stuff that you've heard from the meetings. Then you got to prepare for the comments, and they've got to be meaningful, right? They've got to be meaningful. They've got to be encouraging so much that you get a shoulder tap on the end in that little video there. That's neither here nor there. Now we're going to the personal worship, and then they're going to the family worship. Are you keeping track? Are you keeping track of just how much you have to do? My goodness me.
Are you doing your best? Is your best good enough? I read all the watchstars and the wakes when they come out, you say.
And that's not enough.
It goes without saying that that's good. What did you find in what you read that will deepen your love and appreciation for Jehovah?
Do you mean your group?
And draw you closer to him? Do you use your whole mind to meditate and continue to think about
mind? It's
thus
not yours.
Sucking it down deep into your heart? Some things we learn may not be immediately applicable, but can be regurgitated and applied later as needed. Are you giving serious attention to the spiritual needs of your wife and children? Yes, you have a family worship most weeks. That's commendable.
That's still not
Do
enough.
you prepare well for it?
You
Or
got to
just
prepare
throw
for that
something
as well.
together
Wow.
at the last minute?
Wow.
What if your wife just threw something on the table for dinner each evening without giving any thought to the health needs?
But the thing though is that there's actually tangible value to that, to like the meal. What is the value of looking through your literature, Samuel Heard? What are they benefiting? Like, what is in it for them? All you're doing is promoting your group over and over and over again. The David Splain one that I was trying to look at is the one where I was pushing their website. Regardless of whatever we've been through the last 12 to 18 months, regardless of what's been going on with people, all they're interested in is pushing their stuff, pushing their website. It's just complete lack of awareness of anything. So, no, someone who is responsible, nice, just making the assumption that it's the wife that is just throwing stuff there, because it would be such a taboo if the male in the relationship cooked food. But Samuel Heard, that doesn't surprise me at all. This is the same Samuel Heard that was caught saying, the brain of a female is smaller, therefore that means she's not designed for the role of headship, or she's not designed to have any sort of leadership thing. So this is not a huge surprise that Samuel Heard just assumes that it's the wife that's going to be responsible for cooking. But let's say that's the case, because some women love to do that. If she has to take the time to plan for it, there's actually like a tangible reason for that. Like we can see the benefit. There is no benefit. So here again, just to wrap that up, we had the personal worship, then we had the family worship. But the family worship, you can't just turn up. You got to prepare for that as well. How many hours do these people think they have in a day to do all of this stuff? Well, easy for Samuel Heard to say. He doesn't have to work full time.
Of the family. Think. Is your best good enough? We can slop a pig and he'll enjoy it, but give the same garbage to a cow and she'll ignore it.
Wow.
Why are we considering is your best good enough? It's only as a reminder to look at what we think to be our best in what we're doing for ourselves, our families, and our spiritual brothers and sisters. And remember, our best is not compared with the best of another brother or sister.
No, it's just compared to
Only
running your life
Jehovah
ragged. That's all.
knows when we're doing our best.
Just got to be run
He
to the
is
ground.
a
That's all.
righteous and fair judge. Our knowledge, even of ourselves, can be faulty due to inherited sin. Therefore, it's wisdom on our part to keep examining ourselves to see where we might improve.
Now, that's a way to keep a person paranoid, isn't it? That is a way to keep someone paranoid over something that has no value for them. And no, the promise of the paradise earth that they have no way of proving, no way of guaranteeing, doesn't count. No, that does not count as a benefit. You do all of this stuff and you're going to get a benefit when you die. Okay. That sounds like you're really onto something there. Like that is such a cool racket. Because then it's not falsifiable. You can't prove that they're wrong because it's meant to happen after you die. So if you die and there's nothing there, you can't come back and challenge them. So that doesn't count as a benefit. So just saying.
So is your best good enough?
But out of it.
I'd like to think it is. What do you think?
Okay, that's that one. that ended up being, I don't know what I expect with these people. Every time I set myself up, every time I think it's going to be, I don't know, because this wasn't even the usual updates. This was just a random video that they done. Let me stop sharing this. There we go. This was just a random video that they had on their website. It was from, I believe, April. So it's been some time since this was put up. I like to look at the shorter stuff because I cannot sit through the whole JW broadcasting thing. But like I said, if you're someone who has some experience or some theoretical knowledge in terms of groups that are manipulation tactics, do you see some of that here? Because I'm not expert. All I have is the experience of having been in the group myself, and I know how they make you feel. I know how the comments are made. When you hear day in, day out that you're a good for nothing slave and you should be constantly scrutinizing yourself, analyzing yourself, and if you're not working yourself to the bone, if you're not keeping up with a ridiculous list of to-dos day in, day out, week in, week out, then you're not doing your best. It's exhausting. It really is. And because you can't really keep up, you constantly feel like you're not enough. You constantly feel like you could be doing more. And to be hearing that from people that are not going to put themselves out, I don't think they hold themselves to the same standard. How often do the governing body members go out to preach themselves? How often are they out there seeing as they don't have proper jobs, seeing as they don't have to really earn their keep? How much are they doing? Are they asking of people who, in some cases, I'll always refer to where I can't, my stutter is coming. Let's do that again. I'll always refer to where I grew up, my family that I had, where there wasn't enough a lot of the time. And people needed to work really hard, put in a lot of hours to get what they needed, sometimes even just for the day. Now you're asking people to take out of that time to be reading your literature, to be coming to your meetings, to be thinking about what they've read, to be preparing for the field service, to be having their personal study, to be having the family worship, to be preparing for the family worship, to be preparing for comments, for goodness sake. And all of that, what do they get in return? Absolutely nothing. This is a piss take. It really is a piss take. And looking at it from the outside, 3 years, almost, about 3 years from when I woke up, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So a lot of the time when I think about my family and the way things are, the relationship that isn't what I want it to be, sometimes I have to temper that with, I don't know how else to put it. I don't know whether to call it pity, but I sympathize. I sympathize with how much of their lives are being taken. And I'm sure this has been raised before. Part of why they want you so busy, I think it's so you don't get a chance to actually think. Like, critically think about what they're asking you to do. Because here's the thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about it some other time. I don't want to go on too much longer, but they don't encourage, in fact, they actively discourage independent thinking. They don't want that. So when they say think and meditate, they mean on their literature, on the stuff that they're telling you, so that there's no time to think about anything else outside of what they want you to think about. And I think that's part of why they keep you so busy. By the time you try to do everything they're supposed to do, you're so exhausted, there's no time to think about anything else. And that is sinister. For a life that is so short, that can be gone at any time. There's been some people that have been lost this year. Like, time is promised to no one. You don't want to spend whatever short time you have running around doing the bidding of a group of men who time and time again show that they don't care. And I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but just running through the list of all the stuff they have to do again, it's exhausting. On that note of being exhausted, I'm going to leave it here. It's midnight. I'm going to go to bed now. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know, if you think I'm overreacting. I want to hear it as well. But I had a lot of visceral reactions. I can't help it. There's still a lot of work to do, even after a few years of being out. So I'll leave it there. If you like my thoughts, if you want to hear more of that, subscribe so you know when I put more videos out. And I will speak to you on the next one. Take care. I am going to leave it here now. Have a good